Hello, my name is Candace Chance, founder and CEO of the VPI firm, and this is my reflection on the first half of the JLF program. So, the question is, how has my understanding of economic justice and empowerment in Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions evolved over the course of the first half of the JLF program? I would say that I went into this program having an understanding that there would be some similarities in between the traditions, but really didn't want to have any preconceived notions. I wanted to be open to what I had to learn. I came in kind of just not knowing, not wanting to know, even though I identify as Christian, and just wanted to be open to the lessons and the insights that I got from it. And I would say that as we got to hear each of the experts talk about the laws and how they show up in practice and how they show up in economic justice. It was really interesting to see that we and those who either practice the various faith traditions and even those who don't practice the faith traditions, that there's this interesting balance between looking at the law of the letter and the spirit of the letter. And what I mean by that is, a particular tradition or law or concept can say something very specifically, but there's also an intent and a spirit that undercurrents that particular tradition or law. And that lends itself to various interpretations and ways to have that be manifested. And that led to really robust discussions with the group and some of the smaller groups. And so it was really cool to see how we internalize and digest and understand these various traditions, and also see the connections between them, being able to say, oh, like that is very similar to this Jewish tradition where they do X, Y, Z. So I think my understanding has evolved in a way to be more encompassing and also being able to hear it differently. So being able to hear from the Jewish tradition or the Islamic tradition a similar concept from my Christian faith, but being able to hear it different has also allowed me to think about how to practice it differently and what does it look like to show up in the work that I do. I will also add that it reinforced for me the idea that we can't just take one part of a particular tradition or law or concept, but we actually get to look at it in its entirety and wrestle with the concepts in its entirety. Because when you kind of isolate one portion of it, you may be missing the fuller idea, the fuller concept that the whole tradition and process is bringing to that particular concept. And so there were a lot of times where we challenged, even in our small groups, we challenged some concepts because we connected it to other parts of the tradition or other parts of the faith that helped really expand the understanding of what that particular concept was getting at. So I think there are two things, right? The balancing the law of the letter of the law and the spirit of the law, but also looking at it in its entirety to help create and paint a larger picture. And I think so the next question, how does this understanding inform my work as someone using my agency to establish justice? I think it informs my work in a way that has me reflect often around how am I actually integrating these practices in a real way, not in a superficial, check the box way, but how can I really be bold and audacious in the way that these practices show up? And in our small groups, we had a number of opportunities to just kind of think about, well, what's possible? What if we really push the bounds on how these various faith traditions as it relates to economic justice can show up in our work? And so I'm really excited to be able to try on some things and experiment with ways to have it show up in my practices, show up in the culture of my organization, show up in the ways that I partner with other folks. So I'm really interested and excited to see how that goes.